Hi, my name is Ms. Stephanie Chiang. I teach mostly English classes and one art and literature class, and my pronouns are she, her. So what inspired me to create these artworks honestly started from me drawing the Shiba Inu for fun, simply because I like Shiba Inus, and also I see a lot of Shiba Inu drawings around Taiwan. We see them selling in Nestle on note cards, or we see them at MRT stations, and so I drew them for fun, and I was also drawing a lot just for the purpose of processing a lot of what's going on in my life, kind of like a diary entry, but in visual form. And so I used the Shiba as a part of my subject matter, and because I drew it so much against so many different landscapes, all of a sudden it just became my main subject matter. And so I just drew so many different kinds of settings as a reflection of how I feel at the time, or some of the experiences that I've had. And because of that, I accumulated so many different pieces of artworks that at one point last year I was looking at all of them and feeling like I wanted to share them in some way. But I wanted to share them in a way that was meaningful, because so much of the artwork is so personal to me. And to share them would make me feel very vulnerable. And a part of me wanting to put in a show is sharing these vulnerable moments, but also feeling like, what if in the process of putting it together and sharing it with the people, I'm also in some ways relieving some of the burden that I bear because of all the experiences that I've had that are also reflected in the artwork. So in some ways, putting together the show is very much for me. It's for me to look at all of my emotions, look at all the things that have happened in my life, and in a way, unburden these emotions and memories. So this is the interactive wall. You notice that there are all these heartbeats across the entire room, because it sort of fits the theme also of intermittences of the heart. And when I first designed it, I thought, since it's relating to the pauses of the heart, every time there's a pause, people could sort of fill in this card and write something, and could stick it in the parts that contain these like pauses, sort of to represent the moments where we feel like immense joy or fear or emptiness. And so here are cards of drawings that I've done. And so included in these cards are speech bubbles for people to fill in. And so what goes into these speech bubbles, there are descriptions as to the kinds of conversations that we can put into these speech bubbles, because a huge part of what I want to share is so much of my moments of vulnerability. And a lot of times we choose not to say certain things because we are afraid that we might get hurt or that we might hurt another. And so we hold back. So a big part of the wall is, do you have any kinds of conversations you wish you had? Or conversations that reveal truths that are too hard to bear? And so this is the big part of the interactive wall's purpose. So you notice in some of my acrylic art pieces that there are drawings of me done by my students. So for instance, this is Lola Wang, senior, in my art and literature class, and this is Davina, freshman, in my art and literature class. And so in almost every acrylic piece, there are drawings of me that are done by my own students. The purpose of this, for one, because so much of my art is a reflection of the experiences that I've had, and a lot of it is also very much a reflection of my emotions. And I thought it would be interesting to see how my students perceive me, so that I can use some of these portraits of me and integrate them into the emotions that I'm experiencing in these different combinations of art. And because so much of this exhibition is very much a physical and visual manifestation of my art and literature class, I think it would be very meaningful if I could somehow include my own students in this project. My biggest takeaway putting together this exhibition, honestly, is the realization that we are all very afraid of being vulnerable. A big part of me putting together the show is to fear that in sharing some of my, I guess, most vulnerable moments of sadness, of fear, of emptiness and disillusionment, that people might feel like something is wrong with me. But I think one of the major realizations on my part is the fact that we all experience these negative emotions. It's just a matter of whether we choose to explore them and whether we choose to even share them openly. And And so at the opening, one of my greatest fears is that people will come and look at these artworks and feel possibly uncomfortable. But to my surprise, honestly, a lot of people resonated with the art. A lot of people commented on how a lot of these artworks evoke feelings that they could feel and have experienced at some point in their lives, but have not truly deeply questioned and explored it. And so I think they definitely resonated with some of the emotions that are reflected in the artworks and also in the writing. And so what I'm hoping and what I also learned is that I hope that all of us can at some point in our lives feel like we are in spaces or feel like we can be in a company of people who can make us feel safe and make us feel comfortable enough to share our most vulnerable parts of ourselves and also find the courage to confront all that unsettles us.